Hi there, ho there. Welcome to Podcast Hell, otherwise known as Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height. Welcome to episode 1 of season 2.
That's right. We're kicking off 2022 in a more gentle, politically correct way.
Oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to laugh so soon, was I?
Well, because we're not doing that. We're going to rip more people, more new assholes.
Oh, my God, we've got a plethora of them this season.
Oh, you kids are in for a treat this week because the new year brings a fired-up maestro, a fired-up conquistador.
And lots of morons out there.
So let's get into it, of course. The football season is still in full swing, winding down in the regular season in the NFL.
Yep.
So we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to that. Playoff implications. A lot of teams are set, but the seeding with this extra game makes things a little bit more intriguing. And, of course, the extra wild card team on either side.
Yep. And there's so many teams that have a chance to sneak in this last weekend. Nobody can take the time off.
Well, plus, the interesting thing is, how is every team going to handle this in terms of the bottom feeders? Are they going to tank to try to get the better playoff or the better draft
spot? Yeah.
Are the other teams going to try to fight to get possibly one little edge, like the Cowboys, like the Bucks? Are they going to try
that home
because
game?
the Packers already have that home field advantage
right
throughout the entire NFC playoffs if they can win. But who's going to be the team that's going to slide into that number 2 spot to guarantee themselves home field until that game, until that cold, late January game at Lambeau Field with the douchebag, the MVP, Aaron Rodgers?
I dissent on that completely.
Which part of it?
That he's an MVP.
I was going to say, are you going to really argue he's a douchebag?
No, he's a douchebag. He's just not the MVP this season. There's 2 more qualified candidates.
Dave and I agree on that completely. I think we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's hold off on that. Let's calm down. Let's get zen.
Why?
But I think Dave and I agree that, number one, Aaron Rodgers cries and whines too much. He's not the MVP because he has a great team around him. Number 2, there are at least, as Dave said, 2 worthy candidates, non-quarterback candidates, who should be considered, but because of the bias,
the quarterback bias, it's ridiculous. There are so many more qualified guys through the years that should have been MVP instead of a quarterback.
Yeah, we're looking at we're going on a decade where we've had an MVP who was not a quarterback.
Yeah, it's insane.
We'll get to that. We'll get to Aaron Rodgers, believe me. This could be a 4-segment episode completely and totally about the NFL. But week 17 locked up some things for a lot of teams. The Patriots came out, dominated. They're locked in now. Bill Belichick proves that it was not just Tom Brady. He knows what he's doing. He can win.
He can adjust his coaching style to fit his players.
The Bills also showed up, played hard, played well. So those 2 teams will be fighting it out. Granted, against inferior opponents.
Much inferior.
Which brings us to your Miami Dolphins.
Oh, my God, they are...
That was abysmal. Not show up after that 7-game winning streak. We predicted it. We thought this was going to happen, but I didn't think it would be this bad.
I did not think that they were going to score a measly 3 freaking points. That was absolutely pathetic. And the defense absolutely disappeared against Tennessee. How are you letting Tannehill throw all over you? Seriously.
Well, how are you letting Donta Foreman run for 130 yards?
That too.
Making him look like Derrick Henry, who, by the way, is coming back soon.
He will be there for the playoffs.
The Titans can hold serve this last week and stay with home field advantage, get that week off, bring him back, give him an extra week to rest his foot. Oh, boy. That's going to be fun.
For the Titans.
I don't care if it's the Chiefs. I don't care who it is, because the Chiefs proved their vulnerability this past week as the Bengals went with the shootout mode.
Yeah.
Let's play video game football.
Ding, 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 ding.
Thank God for Jamar Chase. Thank God. Got me third place in our fantasy football final standings.
Yeah. And D-bag Tyreek Hill once again disappears.
Let me tell you a little story. As much as I am crowing about how Jamar Chase got me third place in our league, one of my other two practice leagues, I benched him.
Oh!
In favor of Antonio Brown.
Oh, yeah, there's...
It cost me the championship. That was the one league where I was in it for the final game, the championship. And I just thought, I remember 2 weeks ago when Jamar Chase did what you're talking about with Tyreek Hill, and he put up like a 2. He just put up an absolute abysmal performance. And I'm like, I can't afford to have a guy put up a 5 or a 6. Yeah. I know Antonio Brown, not seeing what he was going to end up doing this past weekend. The week before, he put up a solid 20 points in our league.
And you expected that again.
That's right. I said, I'll take the 15 to 20 points guaranteed with Godwin out versus the boom or bust.
Right.
With Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase went boom, boom, boom. 50 freaking points.
That was insane. But
and that also causes concern for the Chiefs. If he can run rampant on the Chiefs secondary, what does that mean for the Chiefs in the playoffs?
It's not going to be.
I'm telling you, I could talk about this for an hour and a half, Dave.
I know you can. Yeah, the Chiefs secondary was so porous. It was pathetic. But that being said, for the Bengals to give up that much with their secondary.
Exactly. And I still think I am still holding to my Super Bowl pick. I still think if the Bills can get their heads out of their asses, which they have been doing the last couple weeks.
They've played better the last few weeks. They've played like we expected them to play all season.
Right.
But this has been such a bizarre season with every team. I mean, my God, look at the Cowboys.
No, I think what happened with that was what we've been talking about the last 3 weeks.
That it finally caught up with them?
That Cliff Kingsbury finally realized if he didn't win that game, he was probably going to get fired. Even though they had qualified for the playoffs, they were going to end up being one of the last seeds, and they were going to get beat on the road, and they were done.
Yeah. And now you see what McCarthy can do for you.
And they lost their third receiver, Michael Gallup, out for the year.
ACL.
Even though he made an unbelievable catch on that play when he did tear his ACL.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him going forward. But they were just couldn't get anything going.
They need to make a decision on running back, the Dallas Cowboys. They gave a lot of money to Ezekiel Elliott. Michael Gallup looks better. He really does.
Yeah,
he's got more of a burst.
Maybe that's a nagging injury from Elliott. He looks tentative.
The problem I have with Zeke is that he seems to me like a guy who took the money and now he doesn't care anymore. And I'm sorry. He doesn't. Derrick Henry is going to come off of foot surgery.
And he's going to light
and he will carry that's why the Titans, if they get home field, I'm not writing them off in terms of getting to the Super Bowl. I'm not.
No, they
can
are
control
going...
the clock, control the ball with Derrick Henry. Again, Dr. Foreman runs for 130 yards. If they can turn that guy into a stud, and they bring back the stud.
That is a solid offensive line. And it doesn't matter who they're going up against.
If they could just get Julio Jones just needs to care about football. He is going to end up being the most overrated wide receiver to ever get in the Hall of Fame. If he gets in the Hall of Fame,
it taints the position.
And we'll get to that in a bit because we got the list of the finalists for the next class of the Football Hall of Fame. And there are a lot of wide receivers ahead of him. And I'm telling you, I don't like Julio Jones. I have never liked Julio Jones. He is a stat whore. One of our favorite terms here on Sports Frenzy, he is a stat whore. What has he ever done to win for the Falcons or now the Titans?
He disappears in the crunch moments.
He's always injured. There's always something wrong. He's always gimpy.
You can tell he takes plays off.
You're starting to see this now with DeAndre Hopkins with the Cardinals.
Yep.
These guys are not Jerry Rice. They're not even Randy Moss. No. Now, Randy Moss, when healthy, would take plays off, but Randy Moss would at least show up
at crunch time.
Right.
He was the one who said, "Give me the ball."
Yeah, he didn't want
me.
He didn't care when the game didn't matter.
Right, but when it was on the line, he wanted to be the guy.
I'm not condoning that, but at the same time, I'll take him any day over Julio Jones or DeAndre Hopkins. These guys can't play through pain. They don't show up when they're needed. Now, A.J. Brown, on the other hand, he comes back from injury. He's been a stud, although last week he dropped the deuce because they didn't need him.
Right.
I don't know. The NFL is so fascinating, so infuriating, so frustrating. Again, we could go on for hours on this podcast, especially now that the season is pretty much wrapped up. We could break down all these teams in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, on the cusp, on the fringe. The Bears, of course, decide to play their best game of the year
against the worst team. God, that was embarrassing for the Giants in no uncertain terms. And I'm sorry, but after that, you cannot keep Mike Glennon in the league at all. He needs to be done.
The one thing you can say about the Bears this year and how Ryan Pace constructed the roster is that we had three quarterbacks. We had three quarterbacks where the Giants had basically half.
Yep, I will agree. I mean,
we have talked about this all year. We talk about this every year. You've got to have a solid backup quarterback. And the Giants were not prepared if something happened to Daniel Jones, who was not even a proven solid quarterback to begin with.
No, they have to go back to the drawing board and look for another quarterback.
Well, Dave Gettleman supposedly is going to get fired. Joe Judge, the head coach, is... But you hate to bring in a GM.
And saddle him with a coach.
Right. So we'll see how that goes with New York, but they made the Bears look really good.
Yeah.
For 1 week. We'll get to our pick with the Bears and the Vikings coming up soon.
Yeah. And reports are now Nagy has been informed that he will not be retained after the Vikings game. Although earlier today during his presser, he said, no, nobody's told me anything yet. But
one would hope that the Bears are telling the truth because that opens the window for them to interview under the current NFL rules. They can interview coordinators and candidates who are out there.
Right. Hopefully that's the case. Now, GM Ryan Pace is a whole nother story.
I'm hearing rumors that he's coming back.
The rumblings I've heard is please, I will take this because it means Ted Phillips is finally gone.
Keep Pace.
Pace will move up to president of football operations, bring in a new GM and a new coach.
Yes, I'll take it. I'll take it in a
Because
heartbeat.
Pace, while he has questionable GM moves, there's no doubt he knows the game of football. He knows how it should be operated. And that's by far a huge improvement for the organization over Ted frickin' Phillips, who never should have been in that position.
And we thought before
place.
last season he was going to be gone. And then they brought him back and we're like, oh, Jesus, God. Oh, Jesus. Because he's trying to negotiate the whole deal with the racetrack and that property. And
he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Great. So he's a realtor running a football team.
Basically,
that's great.
Yeah, he's Buddy he's a buddy of McCaskey from a business venture that said, "Oh, nudge, nudge, I'll give you this cush position." Ha ha ha.
I could live with Ryan Pace moving up. I could live with that. Now the rumors are swirling that there could be a head coaching candidate. I don't believe it.
I don't want it.
It would take too much money to do it.
I don't want it.
You don't want Jim Harbaugh.
I do not want Jim Harbaugh coaching the Bears.
Even though he's got that connection to the Bears.
I don't care if he has the ties to the Bears. What was the one knock that drove him out of San Francisco? He was unable to develop Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback.
Okay. I'll give you that. And you know the Bears aren't going to spend the money it would take to bring him in, plus pay the buyout at Michigan.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's just a pipe dream. Bears fans, it's just a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. You better set your sights a little bit lower. We'll talk about the potential candidates here in the next week or two. I still like Byron Leftwich. I think Byron Leftwich would be a great coach for the Bears.
I want to know what he can do without Tom Brady.
He'll be fine. I think Byron Leftwich knows what he's doing. I do. But again, we've talked about this, Dave. We've talked about this.
Doug Peterson's out there.
I'd rather have Leftwich. I don't want Peterson. I don't.
Del Rio.
Oh, gee, now you're teasing me. Now you're teasing me. You know how much I love Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio is my guilty pleasure among coaches. Nobody gives him any credit for what he did with Jacksonville. The man took a train wreck of a team and made them 8-8 every freaking year with David Garrard as quarterback.
They would not give him any players.
But again, it always seems it's the same conundrum we talk about year after year. You hire an offensive coach, the offense sucks. You hire a defensive coach, the defense sucks. You know, it's rare. You look around like maybe Vic Fangio in Denver. Yes, the defense is still good, but he can't run the offense.
Right.
But look at Nagy here with the Bears. Again, Bears defense, good. Bears offense, train wreck.
And it's gotten worse since he got here.
But you wouldn't believe the sympathy around the nation for Matt Nagy this week.
I don't care if he's
because
a nice
the Bears
guy.
played hard against the Giants. Oh, my God. They look like they really care.
I don't care if the players like him and they play for him. He cannot coach that team to a victory. He's supposed to have this great offense to put up points. They have gotten worse and put up fewer and fewer points since he got there. He does not have the ability to adjust.
You know, I agree with you. You know, I do. But it's amazing watching the perspective of the people from the outside looking in, whereas we are Chicago Bears fans, like Hub Arkuch, who we'll get to. We see what's going on week after week, day after day.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody on the score out of Chicago hates Matt Nagy. Because it's all smoke and mirrors. He doesn't know what he's doing. He really doesn't.
You ask him a question, and he never gives you an answer. He talks around and around, but you get nothing because he doesn't know.
We just want two things in Chicago for the Bears. We want one franchise quarterback in fucking 50 years. Give us one franchise quarterback. Hopefully it's Justin Fields, who will play this Sunday against the Vikings.
And
give us a goddamn
number one wide receiver.
Well, I'd rather have a halfway competent head coach. You know? I don't care. I don't want a prima donna wide receiver. I don't. I'd rather have a bunch of possession slot guys. I just want a competent head coach who can not mess with the defense and give me a quarterback who can run a pro offense without looking like a moron.
Yeah, there was one stat I need to double check.
Well, we have to give kudos. We have ripped on him in the past. And Ryan Pace should get a little credit for this. Even though the first year Robert Quinn looked like trash, he has stepped up this year, big time.
Oh my God.
With Khalil Mack being out for the majority of the year, Robert Quinn has had a phenomenal year. He sets the Bears sack record, and that's legitimate because he did it in 16 games. Not in 17, 16. He got 18 sacks here this past week against the Giants, beating Richard Dent, Bears legend, one of my favorite players of all time.
Yep.
17 and a half. So kudos to Robert Quinn.
This is the Quinn we expected previously.
Yes. Yes. And again, this defense always carries the team. Always. And it's just ridiculous because we at some point have got to get an offense that can score 25, 30 points a game. And then we are headed to the Super Bowl because this defense, year in, year out, always shows up.
They're solid. They
know when they sign a contract with the Chicago Bears, if they're a defensive player, they better show up. That's what we expect out of our defense.
Yeah. All right. Why I mentioned receiver. Our all-time receiving leader from the 1958 to 67 seasons is Johnny Morris with 5,059 yards. That's the Bears' all-time leading receiver in yardage.
Jesus Christ. That is pathetic.
Harlan Hill from 54 to 61, 4,616. Alshon Jeffries third with 4,549. Walter Payton as a running back is fourth with 4,538.
You can't use weather as an excuse either because look at Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams probably in 3 or 4 years destroys that record. Destroys that record. The Packers probably have at least 7 or 8 receivers. Sterling Sharp. You know, you could pick tons of receivers out of the Packers playing at Lambeau who have destroyed that all-time record for the Bears.
Yeah. And that's over 9 seasons.
We cannot use weather as an excuse.
No.
It's quarterback play. It's coaching. And the sad thing is, after we beat the Giants 29-3, if we beat the Vikings this weekend, we are tied for second. And again, Nagy will put that on his resume and go, oh, look, I'm not that bad of a coach.
And you know, the sad thing is, if we beat the Vikings, the Bears drop another 5 draft positions.
That's okay, though. That's okay. Because
in the second round. But that hoses the Giants.
Right. I know you're thinking of the second round, but I'm thinking of the first round. Screw the Giants.
Yep.
Screw the Giants. Win the game, screw the Giants. I'm all for that. All right, we got to talk about my Buccaneers real quick here because of that whole meltdown with Antonio Brown. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Again, he's another guy. Just when you
prima donna head case, and yeah, you can lament he needs to get help. He does. But I'm sorry, enough is enough already.
Yes.
The guy is a disaster.
After chance after chance.
And he never should have had this last one.
No, after the false vaccination card.
He should have been let go.
If Godwin had not gotten hurt, I think they would have let him go. But Arians knew, the front office knew, that with Godwin out for the year, they had to have him. Evans was gimpy. Yep. They had to bring him back. And I don't know what the hell happened. It's still unclear if he didn't want to go back in. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
because he needed the incentives. He was putting $1 million on the table if he didn't come back in for the last game and a half. Yeah. He's basically flushing $1 million down the toilet in incentives.
Basically, he needed, if he would have gotten a touchdown reception of, I think it was over 25 yards, he would have hit all of his incentives.
He would have been fine. He would have been fine playing the rest of the year. Another shot. Again, I'm assuming he's a normal football player who wants to win.
Obviously not.
I can't fathom what's wrong with him. And, of course, now we're hearing all the excuses. Oh, it's CTE because of the hit he took years ago when he was at the Steelers with Vontaze Burfict. I hope he gets the help he needs, but he is a train wreck.
He has to be done in the NFL.
And the problem is, it's not just on the field, it's off the field. He has issues off the field, too.
He's always had issues off the field, even before that hit.
So that's the thing. Tom Brady takes, again, the high road. Tom Brady wins the game, throwing the ball to an unknown receiver, beats the Jets, and then when they're bombarding him with questions about Antonio Brown ripping off his pads, throwing his jersey into the stands, Tom Brady, again, the GOAT, takes the high road and says, I hope he gets the help he needs. We'll always be here for him. Arians is, I love him as a head coach, but he plays both sides of the fence. He says he's no longer a Buccaneer. Yet as of today, he is still on the roster.
They haven't released him. Why?
I don't understand that. I would have cut his ass, but now again, he said we have to discuss this with the front office.
The front office has said we're discussing this with the league on what we can do.
Because they're trying to save money. They want to know if they have any cap space. Can they bring in somebody who's sitting out there unsigned and see how much it would cost them to do that? I'm sorry. I understand there's this whole movement for mental health right now. And I've always said I want people every week. You should be able to go talk to somebody for 60 minutes for free or for a minimal $30, $40 copay.
But you have a freaking job to do. Your job is to play the game of football and be there for your teammates. And when you quit like that, that tells you what kind of character a person is. When you are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and you have access to all this help and all that you need. There's no excuse. We've seen this earlier this year. Calvin Ridley quit on the Falcons, and we're supposed to feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley makes millions of dollars a year. The rest of us make $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. That's a tough nut for us to crack, to go talk to somebody. He gets to go whenever he wants to go talk to somebody, yet he quit on his team. And now Antonio Brown does it in dramatic Broadway fucking fashion. Look at me. Look at me.
And you wonder why we hate these athletes sometimes.
To be continued in segment 2.
Because you know why? I think we've got to talk about Mr. Lateral Thinker. Stay tuned, kids. We'll be right back. In the fortress of solitary justice, 2 brave men hold the fate of the sports world in their hands, with the utterance of a single word: frenzy! These seemingly ordinary men become the maestro and the conquistador, destined to save the world from stupidity on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and all noble podcast hosts everywhere. Dave and Kev stand for truth, justice, and the frenzy way.
Welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0, Episode 1, Season 2. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
Along with the maestro, Kevin Crane.
NFL reigns supreme. We told you at the end of last segment we would continue, and we shall. Here was re-record on January 5th, airing on the 6th.
Should we talk about the lateral thinker and how he still manages, even when we're not playing him, to piss Bears fans off beyond belief?
Because he's a frickin' jerk.
Including one of our favorite Chicago reporters, Hub Arkush.
Yep. Lead writer, editor of Pro Football Weekly, regular on the Score 670, great football mind, and came out talking about who he would vote his MVP voting. And he came out and said who he wasn't going to vote for.
Right, that is allowed. You are not supposed to, unwritten rule, not supposed to say who you're voting for, but it doesn't say that you can't say who you're not voting for.
Right. And Arkush laid out beautifully why he is not voting for Aaron Rodgers. Not just because of lying about the vaccination status.
Inoculation.
Yeah.
Idiot.
And
Idiot.
He laid it all out because it started back in the spring where he wanted to be traded. He was a cancer in that locker room, holding his team hostage, not being there through all the prep work, not being there through all the workouts, not being a true teammate. And that is part of what being an MVP is. And he was not that.
And of course, all the media is siding now with Aaron Rodgers and saying Hub Arkush went too far and he should not be calling into question Aaron Rodgers' behavior off the field in terms of him being the NFL MVP.
No,
and I say bullshit.
It's
I
all
say
encompassing.
bullshit.
It's all
and
encompassing.
It's not because we're Bears fans.
No, and the only reason Hub
I would
is getting
feel the
in
same
trouble
way about Colin Kaepernick. He would be another one.
Right.
The behavior off the field reflects on the locker room, the front office, the fans, everybody.
Yep. And I'm sorry, the reason Hub got in trouble is because he said, and this is the quote, "You can't be the biggest jerk in the league and be an MVP."
And part of me agrees with
Pretty much that sums it up because he was a jerk in his dealings with the team.
But I think the problem is jerk is too general. The details that you just mentioned, Conquistador, are the ones that should be brought into play.
And that's what Hub laid out.
He divided the locker room with his whole, I don't know if I want to play for Green Bay. They don't respect me. They never listen to me when it comes to personnel issues.
Trade me.
You threw the GM under the bus, and he's done nothing but build now a number one seed in the NFC.
Yeah.
How can you rip on I vote for GM of the year for him.
If Rodgers wouldn't have pulled that bullshit, if he would have been there working with the team and been prepped for week 1 instead of getting his ass handed to him, if he would have been vaccinated as he should have been and not missed a game because of that, then maybe
where is the difference between Antonio Brown when it comes to the vaccination, the fake vaccination card, and Aaron Rodgers basically lying?
There is no
inoculation versus vaccination. I can't believe people are buying into this bullshit.
That is a freaking racist issue that the league has front and freaking center the way they treated those two players. I talk about, we're all in this together, blah, blah, blah. No, you treated a white quarterback and a black receiver differently on the vaccination status.
Interesting point. I won't argue that one.
And nobody's calling that one out. Where is everybody on
But
that?
on top of that, now it comes out this week. Here's another thing that pisses me off about Mr. Lateral Thinker. Mr. Inoculation, not vaccination. And I know Joe Rogan's probably pissed off.
Joe Rogan can go fucking suck another big fatty.
Because they're buddies. Him and Pat McAfee, are buddies. Those two guys somehow count for everything because those are the two friends that Aaron Rodgers has got in the popular culture world.
Go smoke another bowl, guys.
Now it comes out that he does this post-game interview with Aaron Andrews. And he has to come up and hug her. I have to come up and hug Aaron. Because now wait for this, Dave. Wait for this. Wait for his explanation. Because he has to be so cool and so awesome. He says, well, EA and I have been friends for so long.
Oh, EA?
Yeah, he has to call her EA. EA and I have been friends for so long, and I don't understand the whole panic mode thing about what we're doing here. So I'm a hugger, so I have to hug her. Bullshit. You are just such an asshole! You are such an asshole! You say and do anything that makes you look cool and hip and right in this day and age. The shit you're doing is wrong! It's wrong! It's wrong, Mr. How does Aaron Andrews feel about you and your inoculation status? When you could have put her on the sidelines, literally, not figuratively, for a couple weeks, because you don't want to get vaccinated. I can't stand this guy.
Me. It's all about me.
And again, I go back to what Habarka said. He was right. This guy is not the MVP. He might be the best quarterback in the league, but MVP means most valuable player. And
your team.
His behavior is not valuable to his team.
No.
It's detrimental to his team.
Now you ask, well, who should be MVP? Two frickin' choices. Indianapolis Colts running back Jonathan Taylor. Dude has been fucking amazing all damn season. You cannot stop the guy.
Cooper Kupp has been the only guy who Matthew Stafford, as erratic as he's been, could depend on, could possibly set, granted with an extra game, the receiving record, the receiving yards record.
But this is a Kupp humble enough to say, even if I get this record, it can't count because I had the extra game.
That's the kind of class
act. That's the guy that you want as your MVP.
Exactly. Look at the behavior. Look at the example they're setting. Cooper Kupp, class act. Aaron Rodgers, douchebag. Douchebaggius Maximus. God, what is it with you people? Can't you see this? He is snowing you. He is hosing you. And you're letting him do it.
And you listen to his response calling Hub a bum. The only thing he addressed that Hub laid out was calling into question his vaccination. That is the only thing. He did not touch what Hub said about his issues in the locker room and how he treated that organization throughout the offseason.
The things he said about the GM, trying to undercut his authority.
Trying to get out of town, orchestrating a trade. He didn't address any of that. He just picked up on, he doesn't like me because I'm not vaccinated. No, he doesn't like you because you're a worthless piece of garbage as a teammate.
Hey, John Elway, good luck next year. Good luck with him next year. You take him on. You think you're going to get the second coming of Peyton Manning?
Wrong.
My ass. You're getting Beelzebub is what you're getting. You're getting the devil.
And let's see how well he does without his receivers that he's got there in Green Bay.
Yeah, Devontae Adams. Cortland Sutton can't stay healthy.
All right. Why isn't Devontae Adams up for MVP?
I'd take Devontae Adams any day over Aaron Rodgers. Any day. All right. We've got to move on at some point, but we do have two last topics to talk about in the NFL. Number one, the Hall of Fame finalists have been announced. And, of course, number one on our list, first time, who should be in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, Devin frickin' Hester.
The all-time leading touchdown return man in the NFL.
If I bought a jersey, and I don't buy jerseys, I have like 3 of them. I have Peyton, I have Sandberg, and I have Hester. That should tell you Hester should be in the goddamn Hall of Fame first ballot. Boom. The other guys, now I want to go off on a rant here about the Hall of Fame. Baseball and football, let's compare the two. We have no baseball to talk about, so let's compare the Baseball Hall of Fame.
The elitist Baseball Hall of Fame versus the all-inclusive, everybody gets in NFL Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Is that what you want to discuss?
Whatever happened to a middle ground? Whatever happened to let's let 2 or 3 guys in, or maybe 1, or maybe 4, or maybe 5, or maybe none? Yeah, baseball decides they are the ultimate snobs.
Oh my God, they are pathetic.
Whereas football says we have to let 5 guys in every year. Even this class is weak. This class is weak.
There's only a few names on there outside of Hester that I would put in.
First year outside of Hester are Andre Johnson and DeMarcus Ware. Holdovers include Jared Allen, Rondé Barber, Torrey Holt, Tony Baselli, Willis, Zach Thomas, Reggie Wayne. I honestly, if I look at that, if I'm a voter and I take Devin Hester, yes, I'm biased.
Yeah.
Torrey Holt,
yes.
That's it. I'm done. I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done right there. I'm done.
But you have to. I take Jared Allen
if you're gonna force
and Reggie
me,
Wayne.
If I have to take 3 more, good Lord. Oh, my God. I don't want to take 3 more. This is my point.
I know.
I don't want to take 3 more.
I get it.
I take Rondé Barber.
No.
I take Reggie Wayne. I take Jared Allen.
Rondé Barber never impressed me. No.
He's the more impressive of the 2 Barbers.
And that doesn't say anything.
Yeah, I know.
You can't put either of them in. I don't think they are Hall worthy.
This Hall of Fame class is so unimpressive. There are 2 guys in there I would put in. The rest of them, wait another year.
And see who else might show up that outdoes them.
But again, like you said, so astutely, so adroitly, baseball,
snobs.
Football, they're
Kumbaya.
like a frat. They're all inclusive. Oh, we got to have a certain number of guys we include every year. Certain number of pledges we've got to bring in every year. No, you don't. Not if the class is this shitty. This is a terrible class.
Overall, it's a horrible class.
Hester, Holt, done.
I cannot argue with that.
If I could cut it off at 2. Finally, the biggest news of the week for us at Sports Frenzy.
Fantasy football wrap-up. Congratulations to my wife, Mrs. C, winning the Plate of Greatness, her first fantasy football championship. Going literally from every year battling to avoid the banner of shame in last place, she jumps to the top of the heap.
Great job. And she had the number 1 pick, not overall, but in terms of she got Jonathan Taylor. Great pick. That one, and she had Josh Allen, another great pick. Those carried her through. And unfortunately for the Big Blue W, for the 2nd year in a row,
the banner of shame.
Yeah, he's not happy. He's not. Especially because this cost him a shot at the Pennant Frenzy.
It did. Big time.
We've got one more competition to go before we will tell you who wins the Pennant Frenzy. We've got a couple Sports Frenzy winter meetings coming up.
Yep.
So about 3 weeks from now, we'll let you know how everything washed out before Daytona and the start of our 2022 Sports Frenzy season.
There is no downtime.
No. Not anymore. Not with the Super Bowl getting pushed back another week. Now it goes right from 2021 to 2022. All right, let's look quickly at last week's picks in the pros, and then we go into the NFL picks for this week, and then maybe we'll carry
It'll have
NCAA
to carry
football
NCAA.
to segment 3. All right, last week, the Bears that we mentioned destroyed the Giants. Again, a great win for the Bears. I'm happy they're still playing hard for Matt Nagy, but aren't you supposed to play hard?
That's
for
what you
whoever
get paid
your
to do.
coach is?
That's what you get paid to do.
Great game with the Bengals and the Chiefs. Again, I mentioned Jamar Chase had a career day in his rookie season.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow threw himself into the MVP mentioning, but again, now it sounds like he's not going to play week 17. So, again, he made a big step up from year 1 to year 2.
Huge step up. And if you look at the Ohio teams, one of them picked correctly.
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to make excuses for Baker Mayfield, and talking about the left shoulder and all the damage.
He was not good before that injury.
Yeah, I think Joe Burrow is so much better. So much better.
Hands down.
Now, the question is, so you assume the Browns are going to just say, we pick up the 5th-year option on Baker Mayfield. We ride him out for one more year, see how he plays.
See who they...
if you are... Now, the Bears luckily have Justin Fields.
Right. We're set
But like
there.
a team like the Giants, a team like, even the Raiders a year from now, who knows what they're going to do with Derek Carr.
Right.
What, do you take him as your starter?
The Rams have to look ahead.
Matt Stafford, the last 3 weeks has been a piece of crap.
How about most of the season he's been a piece of crap?
I don't care about the yardage. This is typical Matt Stafford. He did this with the Lions, but now he's got a great team around him, and he's still doing the same thing.
And he's cost them many games?
He throws for 275, 2 TDs, but he turns the ball over 2 or 3 times.
Yep, he's cost them a handful of games.
He's come close. He's come close. And when we get to our picks, I will agree with you. We talked about the Titans destroying the Dolphins. Dolphins done. At some point in time here, you got to talk about the state of the Dolphins and what you think they're going to do going forward.
Yeah, you got to probably ride Tua out at least give him another year.
3. Yeah, you got to give him 3
You got to give him the 3rd year and see if he can stay healthy and if he can make that leap.
He's got to be able to throw the ball down the field,
His arm is weak. That's killing him.
Raiders with an unbelievably impressive win in Indianapolis against the Colts.
That was a hell of a thing.
And this is why I like Derek Carr. I really have always been a guy who's liked Derek Carr. He's not a Hall of Famer.
No,
but boy, he is just solid.
He is rallying that team together over the last few weeks.
Let me ask you this. We just talked about Matt Stafford. Who would you rather have, Matt Stafford or Derek Carr?
Derek Carr.
Because Carr will make those mistakes, but he will overcome them. Stafford has to rely on the defense
to bail him out.
Right. Carr has never had a good defense.
No.
In Oakland or Las Vegas. Eagles get into the playoffs, beat Washington. By the way, the new nickname will be coming out here on the 2nd of February, 2022.
Yep, although gotta wait for Groundhog.
No, it's already been leaked.
Oh,
it's already been leaked. They screwed up. Typical Washington football team, Dan Snyder crap. If you go, or you could have gone to WashingtonAdmirals.com, it would have taken you directly to the Washington football team. It's going to be the Washington Admirals. They screwed it up again.
Of course they did.
Now there's people saying, oh, that was a whole misdirect. Do you really think Dan Snyder is that smart?
We've seen Dan Snyder is a moron.
They had a massive screw up again in their front office. They had it already set up.
Somebody can't get out of their own way.
They had it set up for the 2nd of February.
And they punched the button too soon.
It's going to be the Washington Admirals.
Whoop-de-freaking-do.
Chargers finally bounced back. Now they've got the do-or-die game with the Raiders.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. At least the Chargers showed up against the Broncos. Vic Fangio again. I should be the head.
Vic, you're a defensive coordinator.
I could see a combo coming for John Elway. He's going to fire Vic. He's going to bring in Rodgers, and he's going to bring in a new coach.
And it's going to blow up in his face.
Oh, my God, those two egos. They won't fit in the same press box.
Elway and Rodgers?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I love John Elway, but come on, dude.
He's just going to blindfold himself again, throw a dart at the board of names, and see who his coach is going to be.
See, now, I could see him and Peyton Manning getting along. I could. Those two guys,
Peyton is so chill. That's the thing.
Right. But Aaron Rodgers is going to do so much to piss off Elway. Cardinals with a big win over the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. That was impressive. That was a great win. That's what I expected finally from Kingsbury. Saves his job for another year.
It should.
If they get Connor back and do the 1-2 punch.
It still was an ugly game by both teams, though.
It was. And again, we talked about DeAndre Hopkins and how you can't depend on him earlier. I think they're better off without him.
Yeah, they did look a lot
better. They do
need
Connor back. If they get James Conner back, run the 1-2 punch with Edmonds and Connor out of the backfield, maybe they could be better. Maybe they can win a game in the playoffs. Rams at Ravens. I was on Ravens Island last week, and I almost pulled it off.
Almost. But you didn't.
The Rams somehow, despite, again, Matthew Stafford's turnovers, won the game. The thing is, smart trade at the beginning of the season when Cam Akers went down. They brought in Sony Michel. He is now proving to be a stud running back. He's getting paid next year. He's getting paid.
He is finally the main back.
Right.
And is showing what he's been capable of. He was part of that committee in New England.
And Belichick's making it work right now with Stevenson and Damian Harris. But, yeah, Sony Michel needed to get away from that.
Yeah, he needed the room to stretch his legs, and he's doing it.
I don't know how this reflects on the Rams, though, because I still think with the backup quarterback for the Ravens, with all the injuries, they almost beat the Rams. I still don't believe in the Rams.
No, their offense is still a little shaky.
Packers destroy the Vikings. Duh.
That's a no-brainer.
And in the last game in Pittsburgh, supposedly.
Oh, my God.
For Ben Roethlisberger, the accolades, the crowd, the cheers, the chants. Jesus God. Okay.
What was it? Like 26 or 30-something in the first half for a whopping 94 yards?
Yeah.
That's what you get out of Big Ben's
He can't
arm.
throw the ball down the field anymore.
He can barely throw it 10 yards.
We were talking about Tua. He's just Ben right now with
he's gimping along.
His 15-year-old arm compared to Tua, 15-more-year-old arm.
Yeah.
They throw the ball basically the same.
And that's not a good thing.
No. And we'll, again, get to our picks later on for that. Well, let's do them now.
What the hell? Let's knock these out, and then we can move on to the NCAA.
All right. Saturday night, January the 8th. Chiefs at Broncos. Everybody's taking the Chiefs. 6 of our 8 picks are in.
The Broncos are done. The Chiefs need this to try and get the home field.
Right. And again, you're relying on other teams choking.
The Titans have to lose with the Chiefs win. If they both win or they both lose, it goes to the Titans.
Now, if the Bengals would win, they could sneak in.
They could.
I think.
All
right. Cowboys and Eagles, a late game on Saturday. Again, Cowboys playing for positioning. I just think after being beat by the Cardinals at home,
they haven't looked good, but the Eagles haven't either, but they're at home. That's why I'm on Eagle Island.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cowboys. I got to believe the Cowboys are going to try. Jerry Jones came out today, said, we will play our starters. That's interesting
all well and good.
I know. But it's the new system with now you got the one team, the Packers are already locked in for the first round bye. So now you're trying to figure out, can I get an extra home game in week 2 before I have to go to Lambeau?
It's Mike McCarthy.
Coach of the year!
Bullshit.
Bengals at Browns actually ends up being one of the more interesting games because the Bengals could move up or move. They can't really move down.
No, but they could definitely solidify that home game.
They get the one. They get one home game, but it would be interesting to see if they're going to try for 2. But they've already come out and said Joe Burrow is out. Yeah. Joe Mixon most likely out because of COVID.
Yeah, Burrow with that late injury. They want to rest him up.
They want to rest his
playoffs.
knee. So I'm going late pick Browns.
I'm still going Bengals. The Browns are a frickin' train wreck right now.
Doug is with me. Everybody else goes with the Bengals. Packers at Lions. Again, interesting because here's my thinking. Packers, you can't sit guys 2 weeks.
You can't.
They will get rusty.
It doesn't work.
The Packers are going to have to play the first team at least the first half of this game because they got the week off coming. Right. And even Jordan Love in the second half, A.J. Dillon should be good enough to beat the Lions.
And Mr. Lateral Thinker, being the stats whore that he is, wants to try and solidify his MVP status.
Everybody's taking the Packers on that one. Bears at Vikings. Justin Fields, last game for Nagy. Supposedly they love him. Supposedly they want to play for him. I take the Bears.
I'm taking the Vikings at home. I don't have any faith in the Bears.
Bears have one of the top, believe it or not, top passing defenses in the league. They will shut down Justin Jefferson. No Adam Thielen. Bears win.
We'll see.
But you're not alone because Sam is going with the Vikings with you as well as Aaron. Washington at the Giants.
Really? Washington across the board.
Ravens hosting the Steelers. Bill's the only one taking the Steelers. Everybody else takes the Ravens.
At home.
I don't care if it's Huntley. I don't care if it's Lamar Jackson. Again, the Steelers did not look like they can move the ball down the field. Shut down Najee Harris. You shut down the Steelers.
Yep.
Saints at Falcons. Saints need this to get into the playoffs.
But who knows who's going to be playing?
And you're going with the upset.
I'm going with the upset.
Dave goes Falcons. So does Doug, our leader.
Very interesting.
Yes. All right, we're going to wrap this segment up, go to the third segment, wrap up our pro picks.
And get into the NCAA.
Yeah, because, again, we don't have baseball. We don't have NASCAR, so it's football, football, football. We'll be right back on Sports Frenzy 2.0. When your day of dealing with international intrigue is over and you've settled down in your Aston Martin, call up Sports Frenzy 2.0 on your phone or smart car stereo. Every Thursday, Kev and Dave will take your mind off the megalomaniac who just had a laser pointed at your genitals with the best sports criticism around. And don't forget to listen to the Weekend Edition every Saturday so you can plan out your entertainment options with the femme fatale of your choice. Grab a martini shaken, not stirred, and check out Frenzy, Sports Frenzy 2.0. Hey, everybody, we're still talking NFL football, segment 3 here, January the 5th, 2022. This will hit tomorrow morning, the 6th. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height. And this is what you get when there's no other sports that have anything to talk about, and the NFL hands you a platter of topics.
We're still going through our picks coming up here for Week 18. Yes, Week 18, the first time ever we have had a Week 18. And we're going to start off with the biggest game, in my opinion, of the weekend, the 49ers at the Rams.
Big implications on this game.
The Rams could potentially play a Super Bowl at home like the Buccaneers did last year. I hate Matthew Stafford. He was on my fantasy team. I hated him in Detroit. I hate him now. He makes too many mistakes. As much as I have ripped on Kyle Shanahan, I think I want to rip on Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford more. They spend money out the freaking butthole. They get Aaron Donald to an extension. They bring in Jalen Ramsey, sign him. They bring Leonard Floyd in from the Bears. They sign him. They bring in Sony Michel. They bring in Odell Beckham. They bring in Matthew Stafford, and they're still not convincing me they are the world beaters that they should be.
No, offensively, they are not convincing.
I think Robert Woods going down for the year killed their chances.
That hurt them badly.
They needed him. They needed him badly. So, of course, I am on, right now with 6 of our 8 picks in, I am on 49ers Island. It could be Trey Lance. It looks like it's going to be Trey Lance instead of Jimmy Garoppolo. But I just think the 49ers defense is good enough. They will pick off Stafford 2, if not 3 times. They will turn the field position in favor of the Niners. It'll be a close game, like 17-14. The Niners have to win this. Otherwise, they're going to be out. Because I don't think the Saints are losing to the Falcons. That's what they need. You never know. The Niners can still get in if the Saints lose in Atlanta. I don't think that's going to happen. The Niners know they have to win this game. The Rams are already in. Now the Rams need to win the division. Otherwise, the Cardinals
need to win the division, and they have to keep the Niners out.
49er Island. 49er Island for the maestro.
We'll see if it works. This is one when in doubt, I take the home team.
Patriots at Dolphins. Do you want to discuss this?
Patriots across the board, because the Dolphins do not have a team that can compete with the big boys.
You know the one thing about the Dolphins this week that really sucks, going back to what we were talking about with Cooper Kupp, and how he graciously said, if I set all these records in week 18 in the 17th game of the year, it really doesn't count. It's like an asterisk. Jalen Waddle had a shot at setting the rookie
record
and
last
he couldn't
week.
Pull it off.
They targeted him 7 times. He caught 3 passes.
He had 5 to tie, 6 to win, or 6 to set
the
record.
And most of those passes to him were not good. So they did not put him in they should not have been thrown to him.
Yeah, that's a record. Unlike we talked about Robert Quinn's earlier, that's a legitimate record. He set that in 16 games. Now, Waddle, if he sets the rookie receiving record, will be in the extra game, just like Cooper Kupp's talking about with his records.
That would be the new bar going forward, but you can't treat it.
You can't compare.
You can't compare it.
Nope.
Not at this point.
Seahawks at Cardinals. We're all taking the Cardinals, but I will say this. Seahawks played hard, put up a ton of points last week. Granted, against the Lions, it was supposedly Russell Wilson's last game in Seattle. I could see Carroll and Russell Wilson playing really hard.
But will anybody else?
The way Carroll coaches, I say no. He's
Exactly.
a player's coach. He always lets the players get away with whatever they want. I could see them letting down.
Yeah.
Cardinals need
They're
this
on
game.
the road. No.
I think the Cardinals last week was their big win. Could they let down? Sure.
They could, but it's freaking Seattle.
But I think maybe they took a step ahead, a step forward with that win against the Cowboys in Dallas.
Yeah. And sorry, Seahawks, it was the flippin' Lions.
Everybody takes the Cardinals on that one. Panthers at Bucks. Everybody takes the Bucks, despite the fact, the drama, the injuries.
The Panthers are just bad. The Bucks need this.
Yeah, the Bucks, they've got to try to get as many seeds, as many slots ahead as they can to get the home field as far into the playoffs as they can.
Yep.
I have a feeling it's going to come down to Tampa Bay in snowy Lambeau Field against Arizona. Oh, my God! The GOAT better win that one.
The GOAT knows how to play in shit weather.
That is true. That is true. The GOAT can pull one off in bad weather.
He knows how to play in that.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The Buccaneers and the Packers. Oh, I'm going to be all in on that.
That's if the Packers get there.
Well, if the Bucks get there, too, the Bucks are going to have to, win their first round game, too.
Yep.
Then, of course, the elimination game, Sunday night. The NFL knows what they're doing.
This is going to be a ding-dong dilly, as the Big Blue W would say.
Yeah, and the NFL knows what they're doing. They scheduled all these games so that you had to have the teams that were affecting each other as best they could playing at the same time.
Yep.
But, of course, the Sunday night game is an elimination game.
Chargers at the Raiders.
You and I are different on this.
Actually, it's split.
Right now, 6 of 8, 3-3. I admire the way the Raiders played against the Colts. I really do. I really do. And that showed me that they've gotten over the Ruggs thing. They've gotten over the Gruden thing.
Yep.
But at the same time, the Chargers have so much more talent.
They do.
So much more talent.
But the Chargers showed up. And their pattern is they show up and then they crap the bed. The Raiders are out to prove something. At home. Raiders. At home.
Chargers. Justin Herbert is my man. I love Justin Herbert.
Their coach is going to find a way to F it up.
Well, what coach are you looking at with the Raiders? What coach are you looking at with
Derek
the Raiders?
Carr taking this game on his shoulders.
You're not looking at a Hall of Fame coach with the Raiders.
You're not.
Jesus God, I don't see how you can compare the coaches. Coaches out of the picture.
I'm taking the Raiders at home.
The difference could be to help you out, to make you look better. Because God knows I always have to.
Yeah, whatever.
Darren Waller could be back at tight end for the Raiders. That could be a huge X factor. Yes. But again, I look at Eckler, better than Jacobs.
How many times have
Keenan Allen, better than any receiver.
How many times have the Chargers screwed us this year on our picks?
Well, they've been like this for 4 or 5 years. Go back to Anthony Lynn. This team has not been able to figure out how to win a close game for the last 4 or 5 years. But the Raiders aren't that much better.
No, they're not.
I'm going purely on the talent of Justin Herbert. Better running back, better wide receiver.
Good luck to you, sir.
All right, finally, we're done with the NFL. It took us almost 2.5 segments, but man, that was fun. That was fun.
When you got a silver platter of topics to dissect, how can you not go that long?
Another month from now, we're not going to have anything to talk about.
Exactly.
There's going to be no baseball because those idiots can't figure out who should make more money.
It's going to be a one-and-done segment.
Yeah. All right, moving on to college football. Of course, we had another ton of bowl games, but really the ones that mattered were on New Year's Eve.
Yep, and they were epic letdowns.
Terrible.
You kind of thought
terrible,
Cincy wasn't going to do much with Alabama.
They actually
Cincy's
didn't play
defense
bad.
played phenomenal. Cincinnati
played better,
great.
in my opinion, against Alabama than Michigan did against
Michigan,
Georgia.
Michigan did not show up.
And that's why I wonder if that's not why Harbaugh's putting his name in now in the NFL.
Because he can't coach at an elite level in college.
I think he knows he can't get any better than this year. That's what I think. I think he knows he hit the pinnacle of what he can do in college. He's not beating Alabama anytime soon.
He's lucky.
Not beating Georgia anytime soon.
He's probably not going to beat Ohio State.
And I wonder, Cincinnati probably would have beat him.
They probably would have.
Because that's what you and I wanted. After the SEC championship, they were trying to set up this whole Alabama-Georgia final. They got it. Yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
We wanted Cincinnati, Michigan.
And let Alabama-Georgia fight it out in the semifinals.
And then see Cincinnati,
and I
Michigan
think Cincinnati would have beat Michigan.
I think they would have. Yep, the way the both two teams.
But they didn't, we're going to get a blowout in the finals. We don't want that. College football
got the money game that they wanted. F them. I'm not watching the fucking thing.
No, we're actually having our first Sports Frenzy meeting
January
of the winter, where we can drink and eat and ignore the game.
Yep, because we'll probably be done before it even kicks off.
Yeah, by the time 8:45, 8:30 kickoff.
Yeah, because we're starting
kiss the West
6.
Coast ass again. So again, that being said, Alabama beat Cincinnati 27-6. Georgia beat Michigan 34-11. I watched the first 3 quarters of both games. Of course, bailed on the fourth because by then the games were decided, done.
I bailed on the Georgia-Michigan game after the first quarter because it was so one-sided.
The thing I noticed in the Bama game, a lot of batted passes.
Yeah.
A lot of big runs. I mean, Alabama was tearing off 8-9 yards per run. I mean, you can't beat a team when you're letting them do that.
No, that's impossible. Your defense is going to be gassed. They kept it close for as long as they could, but they just got. And I told you, Cincinnati did not have the depth to be able to rotate everybody in. That the defense was going to be gassed, and that was going to make the big difference.
Yep, and you were right. And that's what's going to happen year after year after year until Saban retires, Dabo Swinney goes somewhere else. Because you're fools if you don't think Clemson's going to be a player again next year. This was one off year.
Look at their turnaround. They started out bad, but they turned it around.
Texas A&M pays Jimbo Fisher almost as much money as Nick Saban. Okay, they beat them. Guess what?
Ooh.
Doesn't matter. They're not nearly up to that level.
Nobody
is up to that level. Ohio State might get there again. But this whole system is screwed up and flawed until you somehow can figure out a way to even up recruiting. Sorry. Not going to work.
Nope.
Alabama is going to rule the roost. The SEC is going to rule the roost.
Because they have the money. And you're only going to have 2, maybe 3 teams in the SEC. Everybody else, it's a garbage conference like everybody else. You're going to have 1 or 2 teams in every conference. It just so happens that you have the two of the best recruiters right now in Georgia and Alabama.
Oh, yeah, the bottom of the SEC. Vanderbilt is a joke.
How about most of the...
Can't wait for Texas and Oklahoma. Can't wait for that to see how they compete.
Debacle. I'm sorry.
Why do you think all these kids are transferring out of Oklahoma now? Have you seen
Arkansas got lucky this season. They're usually a joke. I'm sorry. Ole Miss and Mississippi State aren't all that.
They both choked.
Tennessee.
Now, Mississippi, I have to say, I felt bad for the quarterback because I told you when we made our picks, I was picking Mississippi in the Sugar Bowl over Baylor because of their quarterback, Matt Corral, and he got injured in the first quarter with a very serious leg injury. And again, we won't get into it tonight, but we can get into the whole debate about Pickett from Pittsburgh dropping out because he wanted to protect himself.
Yeah.
Okay. Corral decided to play. He gets hurt. It might hurt him in the NFL draft stock.
We'll see.
But again, like you said, Mississippi State, these teams, Arkansas, one great year, they're going to pull back.
Like
they're going to pull back.
Every other conference.
Wisconsin will get better for a couple years. They'll pull back. Notre Dame this year choked in their bowl game. They pulled back. They'll get better.
They'll be all right.
How about Gundy, though? Gundy finally had a great season.
They made the adjustments they had to at the half, and they took it to Notre Dame. Notre Dame did not make the adjustments they needed to.
Choked, what, a 21-point lead away?
And the problem I had with Notre Dame's offense, all frickin' season, you saw them rotate Tyler Buckner in when they were starting to struggle a little bit with the running game. Buckner did not play one series. That got away from what they did. They needed to, once Oklahoma State's defense started shutting down the mid-range passing, they should have brought Buckner in for some series to get that option going.
We talked about the fact that, again, Notre Dame's top running back declared for the NFL draft, pulled out. I think that hurt them and hurt them badly.
It did.
I really do.
They did not even try to establish a running game with the backs they had, who, if they would have committed to them, would have been just fine. But they put it all on Cohen.
I'm just happy for Gundy. I'm happy for the mullet.
I
am so happy that he's going to have a top 10 team this year.
Yep.
Kudos to him. He deserves it.
He does.
He's stuck with Oklahoma State through years and years and years. He's been made fun of because of some of his quotes.
6 inches.
I'm in, I'm 40, which is the greatest quote on Sports Frenzy of all time.
Yep.
We love
that quote. And 6 inches away from being in the CFP.
Yep. Now, Baylor did win also, again, as we mentioned, against Mississippi. So both the Big 12 had a pretty good showing here in the bowls. They're going to have Baylor and Oklahoma State, and arguably Oklahoma slip into the year-end top 10.
Yeah.
Again, it's kind of set, but we still have to wait for the national championship game. But the Big 12 did not embarrass themselves this year, even though, again, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving for the SEC in a couple years.
But again, is anybody afraid of Texas?
No. And again, a lot of people leaving Oklahoma, a lot of these kids transferring out.
Yep, Oklahoma's not going to.
I don't know if it's because Clemson's defensive coordinator doesn't have a lot of charisma. He doesn't have that ability to keep these kids
there. Or
there.
They just went because of Riley.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. So, of course, now we have got to talk about the national championship game.
Whoop-de-frickin-do.
Yes, it is as we expected. It is as we predicted. Alabama and Georgia, the rematch.
Been there, done that, don't give a rat's
Now, the
ass.
ratings for the semifinals were down big time because I think people are getting sick of this shit. Yeah. I really do. And I wouldn't be surprised if the ratings for Alabama, Georgia are down because people are tired of this crap.
We don't want to see games played over and over and over again.
This is why the NFL rules, is because every year the NFL, even when the Patriots were winning, there was always a shot, always a chance. The Giants beat them when they were undefeated. There was always a chance they were going to lose, despite the fact they were there almost every year.
Any given Sunday.
Terrible movie, great quote.
Yep. Thank you for picking up on that.
Awful football movie. Terrible football
You're
movie.
welcome for that lob.
That was a softball, yep. All right, so we need to discuss our picks for number 3, Georgia, and number 1, Alabama. We're split.
It's a split.
6 of 8 picks in right now. Our deadline's coming up here in a couple hours. But we're split 3-3 right now.
Yep. You and me and the big blue W, Bill, going with Bama.
Yep. Sam, Doug, and Aaron go with Georgia. And I will give you one simple reason why I am going with Alabama over Georgia.
Saban knows how to get it done.
Stetson Bennett. I do not trust him.
Nope.
Do not trust him. He looked awful in the game, the SEC championship against Bama the first time around. He does not look like he's ready for prime time. Yes, he beat Michigan, but again, as we talked about, Michigan didn't look like they were even close to being ready for prime time.
No, Michigan was...
Stetson Bennett, Bryce Young can handle the spotlight. I do not think Stetson Bennett can. Yes, Georgia's defense is good, probably a little bit better than Alabama's, but I will take Nick Saban as a coach to outsmart Kirby Smart. Haha, pun intended.
Yeah. Let's face it. The master is going to once again beat the acolyte.
Yes. Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time.
Hands down.
It's just like we are, when people talk about Tiger Woods in golf, and I go, bullshit. There's debate there. Because Tiger Woods screwed up his life. Tiger Woods was dominant for a small period of time. Bill Belichick is the greatest NFL head coach of all time. Because hands for 20 years, he beat the crap out of everybody. And he won more world championships than anybody else. Nick Saban is the same. Nick Saban, he might lose once in a while, but more times than not, he is going to cash it in and get the trophy.
And do you know why, people? These two guys have figured out what it takes to win. It doesn't matter what assistant coaches and coordinators come and go. They have their plan in place. Everybody has their job to do. Everybody knows what's expected of them. And they adapt to the personnel they have. They just keep rolling and rolling and rolling.
And, of course, they recruit the best players. It builds upon itself and builds upon itself. So you're always going to have the best running backs, the best quarterback, the best offensive line, the best defensive line. Now, that being said...
Now, in the NFL, for Belichick, it's his system that works. Because he can bring in almost anybody, and they will do well.
Right. I think you and I agree. College is more recruiting, talent.
Right.
And it makes it easier to coach. Whereas, like you're saying with Belichick and the pros, it's you follow me. I know what I'm doing. You go where I tell you to go.
You do what you're supposed to. You do your job. And everything works.
That's why he's got a rookie quarterback and he's in the playoffs first year. After one down year where he didn't know what to do with Cam Newton.
Cam Newton didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, God bless him for putting up with that.
Yeah. Cam didn't know what he had.
And he still didn't have they were 7-9?
Yeah.
Not terrible. I mean, that's a down year.
Yeah. But they were competitive.
Exactly. So, Dave and I say Alabama again, unfortunately. And I still think this is the way it's going to go for the next 4 or 5 years until Nick Saban goes off into that good night.
Yep.
as the greatest college football head coach
of
by
all
far
time.
of all time.
Bama is going to be Bear who?
Yeah, think about that. Think about that. Bear Bryant, for a time 25 years ago, 30 years ago, was considered the greatest college head coach of all time at the same school.
Yep.
And Nick Saban just came in and bitch slapped him. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but he did.
He knocked that houndstooth hat off of his head.
Remember poor Ray Perkins? Ray Perkins had to come in. He's kind of sandwiched between. Didn't he win one championship?
I don't recall.
I could have swore he won one. And he's looked at as a failure. You know, it's unbelievable. All right, we're going to wrap up this segment. Going bonus segment, 4 segments. Couple things to talk about. Some dumbasses, some moments of silence.
We've got a few things to wrap up.
Yeah, we got hockey. We do have to talk some hockey.
Do we really have to?
Yeah, we do.
No, we don't. I can sum it up right now. The Blackhawks suck. They just traded Nylander to the Penguins for Lafferty. There you go. 5 straight losses. Stick a fork in them. Stan Bowman screwed them with the cap issues that he created for himself. Yes, Taze and Kane got the money as a reward for what they did. They were overpaid, I thought at the time, and it's coming back to bite them now. And I don't know what you can do at this point.
Bitter man, Dave is a bitter man.
They're just in hockey hell right now because of Stan Bowman.
It happens to every team.
It's all cyclical, and they have to get out of their cap hell.
Every professional team, I should say. Again, as we were talking about with Alabama, a down year for them is 9-3.
Runner up.
9-3, yeah.
So,
but we do have a couple other things we're going to hit on. So we will be right back for a bonus segment, segment 4. Stay tuned. We will be right back on Sports Frenzy 2.0. She walked into my office just as I was reaching for the bottle in my bottom desk drawer. Legs till Tuesday, lips like pillows. I want to hire you, she said, to find Sports Frenzy 2.0. Doll, I said, that would be the easiest case ever. Sports Frenzy 2.0 is on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, everywhere you listen to podcasts. She nodded to herself, sat down and smiled. I grabbed 2 glasses. Life was good. And so is Sports Frenzy 2.0.
welcome to the 4th and final segment of this week of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
Along with the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And here we're wrapping up January 5th, 2022. This will hit the 6th. This is our hodgepodge, wrap it all up, whatever we missed, moment of silence, dumbasses.
Yep, we
whatever.
Got basketball. Bulls are number 1 in the East. Congrats to them. Great offseason for them.
It's amazing what happens when an organization actually has a general manager who knows what the hell he's doing with putting a team together and bringing in a good coach. Because that disaster of John Paxson and Gar Forman was an absolute disaster.
Yeah, so
that ruined that franchise for so long.
So now you got Billy Donovan, they bring in DeRozan, you bring in Ball. Last year you brought in Vukovic. You still have Zach LaVine. That's a tough team. It is a really tough team to beat.
All they're lacking is a true big.
Yep.
to play down low.
And you mentioned, you
and
heard
I
rumors.
heard rumblings that they might be looking to trade possibly for the Pacers for Turner.
Miles Turner. And the sad thing is about the Pacers had what I thought a year or two ago was a really good base, a good core of players, and it just hasn't worked out.
No.
And so now they're looking at a full rebuild
thing that sometimes what looks good just does not translate onto the court.
Yep. Of course, the Golden State Warriors are number 1 in the West.
Running away
without
with the
Klay
West.
Thompson. He's coming back soon. And I can't hate the Warriors, despite the fact that I think Steve Kerr is a jackass beyond belief.
That team is so likable.
Steph Curry is so underrated. All we hear is LeBron, Giannis. Steph Curry is the best player we've seen in 20 years. Now, you have to take into account the era we're living in with the three-point shot.
Right.
So
three-pointers reigning right now, but come on. Who on that team can you not like?
Draymond Green is the Dennis Rodman of our era.
Right.
He does all the dirty work. I just like the Golden State Warriors. I root for them. I really do.
That team is so well put together.
You almost want to see the Warriors and the Suns in the finals, not just the Western finals.
But the finals.
But then maybe we'll see Milwaukee get back there. That'd be kind of cool to see Milwaukee.
That would be intriguing.
Yeah. Of course, tonight, vaccination boy Kyrie Irving is supposed to make his debut. I think they're playing in Indianapolis tonight against the Pacers because he can't play
in New York,
in his home state,
because he's a douchebag.
I find it pathetic.
He's the lateral thinker of the NBA.
The Nets let this happen. The Nets should have stood by their principles
and said, bye-bye.
We don't need, because they are not the dominant team in the East, as we mentioned. It's the Bulls right now. You got the Bucks coming up. They'll figure everything out. Oh, no, the Nets, we got to have Kyrie back. We got to have Kyrie.
Guess what?
I still think even with Kyrie, the Nets will fail.
Yeah,
because number one, Steve Nash is a puppet. He is not a head coach.
No.
He is a puppet. Like you said, he's not Billy Donovan. He's not Steve Kerr. He's not even Buchenholz out of Milwaukee. These guys at least have control of their team to some level. And that's debatable in the NBA.
Right, as much as you can with those egos.
Steve Nash, we all know Kevin Durant's the goddamn head coach of the New Jersey Nets.
And that's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
Because dysfunction reigns among those players. They do not know how to play as a team. They're a bunch of egomaniacs.
And again, you got to wonder what the other players are thinking when Kyrie gets to do what he wants,
and gets away with it.
If he wants. He is, like you said, great point. He is the lateral thinker of the NBA.
Let him and Aaron Rodgers go out, smoke a bowl, drink a fifth, do whatever together, and just go away.
You'll be Hall of Famers, but you'll never be the greatest because of how you act and behave. You put yourselves ahead of team, city, and fans. That's the bottom line because the maestro said so. One more point on the NBA before we move on. Did you like that little shift from anger to
mellow?
Yeah. I was going to put this in my dumbasses of the week, but I can't call them dumbasses just for being inept.
You could, but
back on December the 29th.
God, we got to go back to last year.
Well, but it's still within the last week. The Celtics This is, again, we were talking
Oh
about
my
Steph
God.
Curry and how Steph Curry is the greatest player of the last 20 years because we're in the three-point era. So this is the downside of the three-point era. The Celtics against the Clippers on the 29th shot 4 for 42
Ouch!
from three-point range.
Oh my God.
9.5%.
That is abysmal in any era.
This is why the three-point shot is destroying the NBA. Here's an idea. You miss your first 20, even if you
How
go
about you stop?
4 for 20, stop, and start feeding the ball inside and just take 2. Just drive for 2.
Drive for 2, try and get the foul, and go to the line.
Unbelievable.
If it's not working, you go old school.
In basketball, on the NCAA side, Baylor is still number 1. I still find it amazing
That
how
they've
Baylor, as a collective athletic program, has the number 1 basketball program, won the championship last year, and now are looking like they're going to be in the top 5 at the end of the year in football. Good for them.
Yep. Not
when
bad.
was the last time? And I'm not putting the conquistador on the
God,
spot here, but when was the last time you can think of a team that did this well in both Florida?
I was thinking Florida. It would have to be Florida when Billy
Donovan
Donovan
and
was
Spurrier?
down there. Donovan and Spurrier.
Yeah. About 15, 18 years ago?
Probably. That sounds about right.
Yeah. But this is really looking
because
like
Michigan never had them both
Michigan
at the same time.
No. Now, this could be one of the most dominant runs in major college sports by a program. And the women's program is not bad either.
No, considering that their best women's coach bailed on them to go to LSU.
Yeah. Just saying. I'm just putting it out there.
It's a hell of a run. You got to respect it.
Yeah. Baylor has got everything going on right now. Speaking of women's college basketball.
I know where you're going.
Muffet McGraw, former head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 2-time national champion coach, decided to call out the dominant UConn Huskies.
Would that be the 11-time national champion Gino Auriemma's Huskies?
Yes, she came out and said, there's a bias. ESPN, because they're in Connecticut at Bristol, has been favoring the 11-time champion Huskies above all other teams.
Well, gee, go figure. Wouldn't you?
I loved Auriemma's response. Fitting for Sports Frenzy.
Please do, because I have the follow-up for it.
I'm going to paraphrase here. I did not write down the whole quote, but I will paraphrase the highlights. Auriemma said, last time I checked, 11 championships was better than 2. I learned that on Sesame Street.
The reason he went there is McGraw made the comment that while they were good, they still weren't as good as Tennessee. Tennessee only had, under Pat Summitt, 9 championships? So, Sesame Street math says UConn is better than Tennessee.
And of course, he went on to say things like Muffet's bored. She's got nothing better to do. So,
oh my God, it was a complete.
And nobody's saying Gino Auriemma is an absolute egomaniac, but he has the right to be because of those 11 rings.
Exactly.
If I had 11 rings, I'd be a little arrogant and cocky too.
Yep. And I'm sorry, Muffet. You stepped into it when you didn't do your homework on championships 1. Bye-bye.
Yep. Yeah. And of course, another thing that Auriemma brought up that was awesome was that he said, oh, by the way, last time I checked, Notre Dame has their own network with NBC.
Boom! Confetti.
Which I have always said was bullshit. I never should think any team should have their own network. And Notre Dame was the first one to actually get their own network.
Contract for nationally televised games.
Bullshit.
Wait, but what was it? Back in the 70s? Did that take place, or was it earlier than that?
No. I think you're going way too far back for that. I think that was late 90s. But still, they should not. I have always said one team. Now, conference, that's a different story.
Conference is a different story.
But if Notre Dame does not want to align themselves with a conference, then it's bullshit they get their own network. Sorry, bullshit.
No argument
become
there.
A full-time member of the ACC. You become a full-time member of the ACC network.
There you go.
All right. Dave and I are baseball fanatics, even though we have no baseball to talk about per se. But Mr. Bowtie, Ken Rosenthal, has been dropped by the MLB Network because he dared to criticize.
Isn't that convenient?
Yeah, he dared to criticize Rob Manfred. Last time I checked, I thought we had free speech.
Last time I checked, isn't it the press's responsibility to delve into why things aren't being done correctly and report on what's being done or not being done?
And I am not a Ken Rosenthal fan. I hate Mr. Bowtie. I'm not a big fan of his.
No, usually I think he's a complete moron. But in this case,
he gets to say what he wants to say as long as it's not slander. If he's got backing, if he's got sources, then that's bullshit. That is bullshit for the MLB Network to drop him because he dares to criticize the commissioner.
Guess what? The commissioner's a fucking moron who doesn't know what he's doing. And it goes back to fucking Selig, the Hawking wannabe, who was just as inept as Manfred is.
Could be worse. It could be worse with Manfred now because we are looking at possibly an entire year lost. If they can't figure out, they're barely getting together and talking right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely stupid.
We are 3 months away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
And there's nothing.
2 months away from pitchers and catchers, 3 months away from the start of regular spring training.
Right.
And there's nothing going on. We've still got dozens of high-profile free agents sitting out there waiting to figure out what they're going to do, if they can do it, when they can do it. Yep. Scott Boras can't figure out where to jack off, when to jack off, if he should jack off.
He doesn't know if he can afford it.
God, I hate him so much. Him and Chris Bryant. Oh, Jesus.
Scott Boras and Rob Manfred need to just go away.
They have destroyed baseball. They have single-handedly destroyed baseball.
Scott Boras is the worst thing that's happened, and Manfred is a close second.
As much as you might hate the fact that football only gives partially guaranteed contracts.
That's the brilliance.
That's why I hope football never changes.
You cannot give fully guaranteed contracts.
Ask the Minnesota Vikings how they're feeling about Kirk Cousins right now because they give him a fully guaranteed contract.
And they cannot
And he
get out
still
from
hasn't
under
turned
it.
out to be that terrible.
But he hasn't been worth the money they gave him.
Right. At the same time, they can't get rid of him without taking the full hit on his deal.
Yep.
You should take some responsibility financially for the players, but not full responsibility if they end up sucking donkey balls.
Because most of the time, they will.
COVID is now destroying the tennis record books. Because now, word came down today, Novak Djokovic will not be allowed into Australia. So he will not be allowed to participate in the Australian Open, blocking him from potentially setting the men's singles record for major wins. I am done with this. I am over this. We're almost 2 years in.
You're playing tennis outside.
How far away are you from your how far away from you is your competitor?
Yeah, put him in a frickin' bubble. He wears his mask. He doesn't leave his hotel room until he goes escorted in a bubble to the court. This is ridiculous. I'm done. Done.
Are we ever going to get through this? Are we ever going to get through this to the point where we can function as a society again? Where we're going to let 100% capacity in Canada for hockey? Are we ever going to let players travel around the world, tennis, golf,
anything?
When we get to the British Open? Are we ever going to live our lives normally again? Or is this some kind of political bullshit where we're going to act like a version of the flu is going to cripple our world economy and society?
It has.
I am so done with this. And now it's affecting the record books in sports because Djokovic is not a spring chicken.
No, he's not. He's got a limited run.
Definitely younger than Nadal, younger than Federer. He's got a shot to win the all-time title. But now we see shit like this where he's blocked from playing in the Australian. That's going to knock him back another 3 or 4 months before he can play again.
Yep, it's insane.
I hate this bullshit. I hate it. And I've always wondered, you and I talk about betting. We talk about all these stupid ass.
Oh my God.
Caesar. I'm a Caesar. You're a Caesar.
You're an idiot. Bet Rivers.
I'm surprised we haven't heard more of an outcry from the betting community about
all the COVID shutdowns and everything else.
This player all of a sudden can't play. What about the people that put their money down? I guarantee Caesars, Wynn, MGM, all these sports books say, hey, we're not responsible. You put that money down. We don't care if, so-and-so goes on the COVID list 4 days later. That's your problem, not ours. Why would you ever bet your money? Especially now on a sport.
Especially now. It's ridiculous.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Dave, I know you went on your little Blackhawks rant. But before we get to the moments of silence and our dumbasses, how would you feel about hockey moving to the Summer Olympics? Because Gary Bettman at the Winter Classic put that forth. He said he's discussed this.
All right. For one, I am still of the mindset that the Olympics are for amateur athletes. The pros have absolutely no business participating for any country. So I could really give a rat's ass.
But in the end, the Russians are going to put their pros in.
Everybody's going to, but
the Americans were
probably the
last ones to put professionals in.
Yeah, no, I always thought it was so much better when it was just straight up amateurs around the world to see what you had coming for the future.
I kind of miss that in basketball. I really kind of just liked seeing the college kids play in the Olympics.
Hell, for boxing, you like to see the young kids coming up. Who is going to be
Evander Holyfield
coming
when he
up
was
through
younger,
the ranks? Who could possibly contend? Now
it's all ruined. Yeah.
Who gives a rat's ass about the Olympics? I could care less.
It's another way for pampered, rich, spoiled brat athletes
to get more accolades.
Yep, to get another notch in their belt.
Yeah.
To get another trophy or medal on their wall.
Yep.
Agree completely. Agree completely.
I have not watched the Olympics outside of maybe bobsledding.
Bobsledding. Wow.
Love the bobsled and the luge. That stuff, I will watch that all day long. The rest of it, I could care less.
I can't tell you the last time I watched any Olympic event because I don't care. I just don't care.
Exactly.
And that doesn't make me a bad American. It just makes the Olympics
They're
bad
irrelevant.
television. Bad television.
They're irrelevant.
Yeah.
In this day and age, when you have to rely on your pros to get people to watch it.
Yep.
And that ruined it for me.
Well, the Dream Team ruined it. The Dream Team, when they said, okay, the first time we're going to bring in the greatest semblance of basketball players of all time, and everybody bought into it and loved it and creamed their jeans over it, that spoiled it for the future.
And now you haven't had a lineup like that could compete or compare from anywhere.
One last thing before we get into our moments of silence. The Dream Team cared, though. The Dream Team destroyed everybody in their path. You notice now how we bring the pros in, and they barely win. They barely win.
Yeah, they don't have the pride.
They don't have the drive. They don't have the fire.
There we go. Speaking
of a drive and a fire, thoughts and prayers go out to the family of Sam Jones, 10-time NBA champion with the Boston Celtics.
Oof, man. That was a guy who could play some ball.
That team. Bill Russell. Oh, my God. Was that Bob Cousy was on that team, too? Oh, my Lord. That was a dynasty.
That was a true dynasty.
Now, people will argue that now things are different with economics, so you could argue that the Patriots might be an arguably equivalent dynasty, but that Celtics run, 60s, early 70s, unbelievable.
The only other thing you could really, truly compare at the time was the 70s run that the Montreal Canadiens had ruling the NHL.
Yep, absolutely. And, of course, we lost who I thought was one of the best coaches of the last 40 years.
Dan Reeves.
Thoughts
and prayers to his family. He was a class act on the sideline.
One of the last guys. Now, Jack Del Rio technically was the last coach.
With the jacket
and you can argue. Yeah, you can argue with me on this. You can look it up. I still believe Jack Del Rio was the last guy to wear the jacket and the tie.
He got fined for dressing up on the sidelines because he was not wearing official NFL apparel.
Yeah, which is bullshit.
Absolute
As much as I love Bill Belichick, and
he looks like a freaking moron.
Yeah, with the
cut-off hoodie.
Jack Del Rio, Dan Reeves, Tom Landry were class acts. Yep. They were great coaches, and they were class acts because they understood how to respect the game and look like a leader and a professional.
Boom.
Fucking A! As we look here, you got a...
Me wearing
you got a V-neck sweater, and I've got a rock and roll t-shirt on.
Nobody can see us, though. It's all good.
Dan Reeves would look down on us in shame right now.
Now, if we were doing this on TV...
If I was working for him, I would dress...
appropriately.
Yes. I would respect the man, respect the myth, respect the legend.
Yep.
All right, I have some dumbasses, as do you. You start.
First off, God, I have to go Terrell Owens. Coming out after Antonio Brown quit, Terrell Owens is trying to plead his case to the Buccaneers that he wants to take his place on the team after having not played in the NFL for a decade. What the hell are you thinking? You would get your ass destroyed out there today.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. I didn't even know if that was worth mentioning. All right, I have two, what I'm going to call society's double-checking problem. Dumbasses. Okay, I have a problem with people who don't proofread. I have a problem. Okay, if you send a text and you misspell something, I get it. But if you keep doing it over and over and over again, then I just go, okay,
You're
asshole, could you check your spelling? Could you check your punctuation? So now I have two. Back on December the 29th, the New York Knicks, Emmanuel Quickly, took the court with, his last name is QuickleY. His jersey said Qucikley.
Oh my
Who's double checking this shit? Come on! How do you embarrass the guy like that?
That's inexcusable.
Oh, but it gets better. The other day, Yahoo Sports. Oh, this, massively full of integrity sports entity next to ESPN, the greatest sports news network we've got out there on the internet. Their headline was, the Western Hockey League, the WHL, had to shut down 3 teams because of COVID-10. So I had to go out and look like they almost made me a dumbass because I had to go out and look. What the hell's COVID-10? No, they just mistyped the headline.
Hit the 0, which is right next to the 9 on the keyboard.
Yes, exactly. Because you read the story and it's
all
COVID-19. It's all COVID-19.
Oh my God, that's pathetic.
You people out there need to double check your work.
You watch any news organization, anything, you see misspellings everywhere. Nobody cares. All right.
You go, Dave.
Washington football team, for the inept way they handled the railing collapse at the end of the game.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, it was terrible.
Absolutely horrible the way the fans were treated, being told to get the F off the field, not being offered medical assistance right there. Oh, a couple supposedly were, but most of them were not.
It looked like Jethro had set up that railing. It literally looked like 2 pieces of plywood.
I'm sorry, this is supposed to be your ADA wheelchair area sectioned off. Why the hell is it not secured?
It was pathetic.
It was unacceptable on every level. And then, lastly, Let's Go Brandon Coins cannot sponsor Brandon Brown in the Xfinity Series. They jumped the gun, announcing they had that sponsorship. NASCAR didn't approve it, and so now they have to backtrack and scramble for a new sponsor.
Cowards. NASCAR, they're cowards. And finally, on a bad note, Las Vegas Raiders rookie cornerback Nate Hobbs arrested for DUI 2 months and 1 day after what happened with Henry Ruggs.
Absolutely stupid.
Pathetic.
Bye-bye.
And this is why I can't root for the Raiders, because time after time, this is what they do. He's a conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Check out the weekend edition. We love you, kids. We will see you next week.